Perfect. All right, guys, we are live. This is Kerry Stellar from In the Girls Corner, and I am here speaking with one of my very good friends, Levi Steedman. Levi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. Super excited to speak with you again. We spoke when you were an amateur, and, you had your last, I believe it was your last title fight that we had spoke about.
I think so, yeah. Because I think I had that title fight, and then there was a fight after that, which was like a last minute kind of, because my last opponent pulled out, so I jumped in with a different fighter. So yeah, there's been at least 8 months, I think, since my last fight, and probably like 12 months since I last spoke to you. So it's good to catch up again.
Oh, it's great to hear from you. So how is everything now? One, that you've gone pro, and two, with all the madness going on, how is it living in this new, I hate to say this, new environment, but it is.
I mean, I've been avoiding saying new because I'm not accepting that this is the new normal.
I love you. I love you. You made my morning.
Like I hate that. Like every time I hear someone say it, or it's constantly on the adverts as well, like new normal, and I think that's bullshit. You're just conditioning us into thinking that that's what's going to happen. But yeah, obviously things have changed. It's frustrating because I had an interview a couple of weeks ago, or whenever it was, and they was asking me like, how did I turn into pro and this, that, and the other. And we figured out in February that I was turning pro, and then the world just stopped working, like literally about 2 weeks after it. Like it was like late into February, and then all of a sudden March, everything just shut down. So but I was saying to my mum the other day, is like it's almost like a blessing in disguise a little bit for my situation, because I wanted to turn pro, but then I've had like 9 months now to work on things, and now I feel actually ready to go pro, which has been really good, but still very difficult as well with the current situation that's going on. Loads of restrictions and mad rules, which seem to be people following them, and it's just a crazy time we're living in.
Yeah, and they change all the time, so it makes it even harder. I know that, or at least I don't even know. I can't even say that I definitely know, but I do know that they are toying around with a lot of ideas with traveling, and are they going to make and require the vaccine and all that stuff. So this, I'm with you. I don't think this is our new norm. I think this is just it's 2020.
Yeah.
Only thing I can come up with. It's like, what else is going to happen?
Well, I think I don't know if it was in the US news, but they started talking about UFOs now in like the Daily Mail or whatever it was, and I was like, shit, like just give us a break, like, stop just making these different things up. It's just there's so much. Like,
it's definitely why all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is all of this like enveloping in 2020, unless it's what I call psyops, which are like psychological operations to get certain people either pissed off or really excited or freaked out, so to speak, and it worked. A lot of it really did. You have half of the free world is, oh, that's really funny that you're just brought up UFOs, and I have One American News on, and there are now UFOs all over.
Yeah, we're getting taken over by aliens next. I'm sure that's the next thing that they're going to throw out there.
Well, I've been calling that for like since the beginning that this started, that would be one of the next projects for them on deck, would be, oh, here we go,
Yeah.
And what about all like the monoliths popping up? And people were freaking out about that, but apparently it's an artist that was making them, which makes me a little happier.
Yeah, because I think my brother said something like it's made out of a certain metal, which is like man-made. He was like, that can't be, it can't have just randomly appeared from somewhere. So like obviously somebody's put it there, and it turned out it was an artist, like whatever they put in there, which was quite funny, because they just throw things in there, don't they, and make you panic. And it's just
during 2020, great time, right? So then today, and I know we're not getting into politics, but there's a lot of like wild stuff going on today in Georgia here.
Yeah.
They are doing a rally. That's the only political part I'll put into it. However, one of my friends sent me this thing, and it was really funny because he was like, well, all the crazy stuff that's happened in Georgia, and Georgia happens to sit Atlanta on the 33-degree latitude line.
Yeah.
33rd degree. Very, very, very like lots of symbolism right there. I was like, whoa, okay. So then I'm looking it up, and me and my friend do like, we're such idiots. Like we do the conspiracy thing right away. She's like, get it back, put it on the wall. We need some red things. We need markers. We need to figure this out. And we actually did do like a ton of research on this one post to see. And everything that they were talking about all lines up on the 33rd degree line, which is weird, right?
Yep.
The guide stones, I don't know if you know what the Georgia guide stones are.
No, no, I've not heard of them about them.
You got to look them up after this. It's insane. They're there too, and supposedly they're on the 33rd longitude line. Now, they are. Everybody can say what they want about what it is, but it is in seven, I believe, seven different languages. A plan to keep the population controlled at a certain amount. It's basically like a new world order, but laid out in seven different languages and just put there.
Yeah, because that's normal, isn't it? Like,
Why are we tearing down monuments? Why doesn't somebody take that piece of shit down?
yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Like the amount of shit that we have. It's crazy. But the best part about it is that's why I love your pages and I love what you post, is because you're a critical thinker. Like you can think for yourself, and for some reason that's really frowned upon. And I've become like, we're conditioned into thinking if somebody thinks differently that they're a conspiracy theorist or this crazy person. But more and more as the years go on, you realize that they're actually the ones that make sense. And nobody
said the same thing. Who knew that we were going to turn out to be like the ones that were right, or that, had the idea that and I didn't want to be right about all this shit. I said it. I'm like, I did not want to be the bearer of bad news. I did not want to be right about half the stuff that's going on. Like, that's not what I wanted. Unfortunately, it's true. And, it does take a little bit of critical thinking. And I had somebody get mad. They're like, well, what are you trying to say? I don't know how to think. I'm like, no, you just don't think critically. You look at stuff as it is. I look at stuff and I go, okay, well, most people say think outside of the box. The box isn't even there. So I'm like, let's just really look at it as a whole, And I was forced into that corner during the whole lockdown. They took MMA, they took everything away from us. We weren't able to go out and really do much. So I was kind of forced into that corner to starting to think critically and starting to, look at other things that are going on.
Yeah.
So it kind of forced us all to kind of look at ourselves and say, what do we want out of life? What is really important? I started training again. I feel great.
It backfired a little bit, I think, because, like locking people down, they probably thought that, it ruined, it has actually ruined a lot of people, but it's also opened up people's minds a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And people are thinking differently and starting to question a lot more, which is really good. I think, especially like the older generation, like my mum's age, I used to think like, oh, they didn't know anything, like they're stuck in their own ways. And my mum, because me and my brother are so like, we literally question absolutely everything. Yeah. And now we make her do that. And it's so much better because it's like good thinking that you're not just getting your source of information from one place. And that's what I hate. Like as soon as, if I hear the news in my house, I might turn that shit off right now.
Me too. I yell at my parents, turn your programmer off. I'm like, TV programming. Know what the word is. There's a reason why they came out with that word. And like my parents laugh at me. I'm like, I'm not kidding you. Like if you listen to the verbiage and the words that they use, they all say the same phrases, and all to get in people's heads.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really is obvious, but it's a good, it woke people up and then it hurt people in a certain way. But I feel like there's quite a few weeks left to wake the rest of everybody up. And I happen to think that showing all the corruption that's going on all over the world is not just here, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's invested in the same thing. And it's not even like they're invested in America, it's just invested in like this whole situation, right? Mm-hmm. So if all of these countries are involved in it and everybody, I'm watching like protests in Japan and Berlin, and I'm watching on everywhere. This is wild. And I'm like, but how come like people I know don't get it?
Yeah.
And people in other countries totally get it. Well, I mean, I guess when you come from communist countries, what a communist government is like, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's like welcome to like it's basically we're getting a taster of it, aren't we? Well, we've had more than a taster of it because it's been the last 9 months, but
our free taste of socialism hasn't been so good. And I keep on telling people that. I'm like, do you want to give your subscription back?
Yeah, exactly. It's been so I'm definitely not. I'm so over it now. Like it's extremely like boring. It's like we can hear it, we can see it, and then there's still people who can't see it, and it's like I've had to stop getting into not arguments, but just getting into like debates with people, because if they don't want to know or they don't want to accept it, then they
can't change their mind.
Yeah, you can't change it, and that's just the way they are. And I think it takes a certain level of intelligence to kind of accept what you thought was right is wrong, or what you thought was really happening isn't happening. And sometimes people just choose not to actually want to think that way. But you know, there's only so much you can do, isn't there? My mum always says like you know you can't save the world, and I'm like, well, you know, you can actually open certain people's eyes.
You can try.
That's it. You can try it, and that's what I'm trying to do basically, because it's really difficult to hear people like say certain things and think in a certain way when you know that that's probably not wrong, and you've been brainwashed into thinking that. It's super hard to kind of want to shake them sometimes, but you can't do that to everyone. So yeah, I've actually lost a lot of followers. I mean, I'm not bothered. I don't really care, but I just remember vaguely seeing that like my followers were in like 2,200 something, and then I went on my page to edit the bio, and it was like 1,900, and I was like,
too, and I'm okay with that. Honestly, at that point, they took away my one Instagram. I'm like, whatever. It had 9,000 followers. I said people are still following me, so I'm not upset about it. I have my Facebook. Everybody knows that they can find me wherever. You know what I mean? I'll pop up somewhere. I will be there, but what does annoy me is it's not necessarily even your followers. It's who's controlling that platform that's controlling, you know what I mean? And that's the sad part of it, because it's like, really, if they don't like what you say, well, we're going to just put you in a corner and shadow ban you so that you don't get new followers that are going to agree with what you're saying. Out like in the girls corner page, because I put a couple controversial things up there, just because I mean, like, I should stand for something, right? Like, even in the girls corner should stand for something, and fighting for kids I think is like the best thing I can do. And when I started posting stuff about that, that's when I started losing my following, and I'm like, okay, maybe
like,
what the hell is going on? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm okay with losing that follower, because
that's it.
Human trafficking and you're against it,
Yeah. I think that's what actually I posted a few things onto my story, and then I lost followers, but then people weren't seeing it. Like, I've got however many followers I've got, but only like 90 people are seeing my story, and I think that's weird. And then also, like, when I used to post stuff onto my actual Instagram, like, you get loads of random followers just because they've seen it and they like wrestling or whatever. They're like, but it's not gone to anyone. It seems to be that my Instagram is on private, even though it's not. So it's like all my followers are like it, but no new. And it's like, I think I've been shadow banned.
That's what a shadow ban is. I'm shadow banned on everything, to the point where I actually ended up deleting all my Twitters, because when I looked, and you could look back at all my old posts where my reach was insane. I was getting like tons of likes, tons of this, all that stuff, retweets. And then out of nowhere, the second that I started posting stuff they didn't like, I mean, it was like a direct boom, you're done. No likes, no reach, no new followers. Like, it's almost like you're not even there.
So bizarre. But it's like the things that actually matter, like you say, the human trafficking, the child trafficking posts, and then it can go against community guidelines, or it can it's upsetting people. But why is that upsetting people? Like, that really pisses me off, because Tom DeBlas is having the same situation, isn't he? He's been like shadow banned so many times because he's putting Save the Children hashtags out there, and you think, what the fuck?
Please? Yeah, no, they've like taken him off of social media. I bought that shirt, the rash guard, the Epic Roll one that has Save the Children on it. I got that when it first started. When they first made them, I was like one of the first people to order it. I was like, I need one of these so bad. And I've worn it to rallies. I've worn it, obviously training. I love it. It actually is great quality. But the fact that they have gone so far to remove him and anybody else that wants to raise awareness. I mean, we just had a trafficking bust in Texas 2 days ago, and the cops were on TV saying they only showed the people that were clean enough.
What?
what
Clean it.
things were they pulling out of this house that they weren't able to show them?
Mm.
What condition were these people in? Now, human trafficking and trafficking isn't like, okay, well, it's just like, oh, we're going to pass you around to people. It's like there's so much that goes into it. You know that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So if some of these people say are born into it, they might not look normal.
No, that's true.
Incest, you get, being born onto it. There's so many little things that like defects. Who knows? So who knows what these cops could have seen that they couldn't show?
Yeah.
And it's really crazy. And this is going to get, again, not into the politics, which I'm really excited that we haven't got into that because it's really smart. And for you, very, very smart. But the conspiracy part of it, I was telling people, do you remember when we were getting like all those earthquakes and it was all over the world, but it was like, I remember they were like 5.5, 6 point whatever is pretty big numbers.
I think I know what you're going to say.
No structural damage.
Yeah.
No cut from COVID to, oh my gosh, there was this huge earthquake and people's houses and lives were destroyed. No buildings, just people saying stuff in their house shook. We had them in Utah. We had them in all over the United States. And I remember I'm like, if that was a 6.5,
Something
more than people saying my house shook, there would be damage and lots of it, right?
Yes, definitely.
I said to my friends, if we hear, and I remember them saying all the conspiracies that they were going to have earthquakes in New York, and we don't get them here.
Mm-hmm.
We got like 5.25 over ever, right?
Yeah.
So I the other day was like, let me just go see about the earthquake activity, and there was a lot, and I'm like, okay, let's go see the earthquake activity in New York. Yeah, was I in for a shocker? I showed it to my coach. I'm like, do you remember when I told you about the earthquakes in New York? He's like, yeah. I'm like, how many have we had? He's like, not a lot. I'm like, check this out. The earthquake database shows from about 2 weeks ago in or around New York, and it goes through about, I'd say maybe 30 easily in this calendar year, and then the ones right before that were about a year ago, about a year and a half, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. So all of a sudden we have 30 in one calendar year, and before that it was like one every X amount of nothing.
Yeah, that doesn't add up, does it?
So then I started showing him, I said, now look at the depths, how far down they go. And he's like, 5 kilometers. I'm like, does that sound like an earthquake to you? He's like, no. He's like, 0 kilometers. I'm like, does that sound like an entrance to a tunnel maybe?
Just to me.
If you look at this and you look at like all like it, I'm telling you, I'm not wrong, because they said Niagara, and Niagara's right by Canada, and there's a ton, and you could see the breakdown of where it's wild. It's wild. Like, I know the world's gonna find out some crazy shit soon, and I know I've been saying it for a while, but it's like, I don't know. I just feel like it's soon here.
I think that they will definitely find out, but it's like, who's going to actually tell them, because the mainstream media is like almost protecting everything that's going on. It's like like they need to put it out on these type of like programs, like you say, what people are going to listen to.
Yeah.
Normal people are going to listen to, because of what you can put in everything, and they'll still go, oh, that's bullshit. I don't believe in that.
They are. That's exactly what they're going to do. But what this is the rumors I'm hearing is, one, they're going to do a break into the emergency broadcast system, which is all over the world.
Yeah.
And it will then say what's going on, what's been going on, why they're literally going to cut the media out, social media, everything will be cut out. We won't even you'll be able to talk to people on the phone and stuff, but people are going to be forced to watch it. In other words, that's what I've been told, what I've read for the past like 5 years, is that you're going to be forced to see what's going on. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm looking at all this stuff, and if it was all a conspiracy, the other day I see that they're now making a move, and there's like a whole bunch of people that are asking Donald Trump to, sorry to bring up the one thing in politics, to do a form of martial law.
Mm-hmm.
A form of martial law, everybody's like, he can't do it. He's a president, and that has to be done by the states. I said, you're wrong. Go and read some of our executive orders, because in them we are still in a declared state of emergency since 2018, which means he can.
Mhm.
And they did that in an executive order about voter fraud. And guess what was listed in there as people that would be held accountable for it for how do they word it? I can't remember the exact wording, but it was misinformation, propaganda campaigns. That's the media.
Yeah.
So this was all they knew and beyond plan. So I really do think like in the next, I mean, in 2000, it was decided December 12th. So we still have quite a bit of time for some
Mhm.
shakeups to happen. I hope that they start exposing some sick shit on both sides, like both of them, so that like everybody's eyes open.
Yeah.
Because if it's just skewed to one side, of course you're going to see people that are going to go, nah, nah.
You will, and it doesn't matter how much evidence that you put in front of someone, like, you know, going back to the child trafficking stuff and this shit. Like, I was watching, have you seen the Netflix program, which is called Disenchantment, something like that? Like, it's made by Matt Groening, which, you know, people have said before that he probably is a paedophile, but we don't know. And there's loads of weird stuff in there. Like, once you've been exposed to, you know, like all of the adrenochrome stuff and
Yeah.
trafficking and what they do, and which is true, but people won't believe it. There's so much symbolism in there. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, I couldn't watch it because I was like, that's so obvious. This is so obvious. There
I
was
mean, I turned off a cartoon of her child. I was like, you need to turn this off. She's like, why? I'm like, do you realize what your daughter's listening to? And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, turn it off for a second. I said, Bayla, come over here. She goes, what? I said, tell your mommy what you were just watching. And she started explaining. And I said, what are those guys? And she said, those are humans. And I said, what are they fighting? Oh, dark spirits, mommy.
it's just crazy, isn't it? It's
Dark
like,
spirits. And she, oh, yeah, talking about magic and all this stuff. And I'm like, magic is one thing. Dark spirits and hearing your kid talk about the Illuminati at 6 years old is quite a difference. Quite a
exactly.
difference. And it's in there.
Yeah, but then exactly, but then, like I was saying to my brother, like they put it in things like that so that you don't question it when you actually see it in real life. So, oh, that's fine. Oh, it's Illuminati. People wear fucking t-shirts with triangles on and all this shit, you know, with eyes in, and it looks like, you know, a lot of people actually have the tattoo because they think it looks cool.
I know.
And then, like, in that, going back to that program, he was like extracting blood from like the innocent. This is on a I'll show you a video of it. And they was making a pink fluid from it, which is the elixir of life.
Yeah.
And I was like, is everybody just watching this and not understanding what they're actually doing?
Las Vegas. Did you ever see that movie?
What? Sorry.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
He had that. It was Johnny. Was it Johnny Depp?
That movie was straight up just about adrenochrome. The whole thing. The whole thing was about adrenochrome, and it was a little bottle with red liquid, and they would trip out and hallucinate like insane. What was that movie? Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Stealing a child innocence. Monsters Inc. Scaring a kid to death. Death Becomes Her.
Mm-hmm. I watched that as well.
She drinks a like a youth serum.
Serum.
I could go on and on about all these movies that literally have thrown in on our faces, and we've just been like, whatever. It's probably nothing. It's probably nothing. And I mean, the sick part about I don't even think I didn't put it on my social media because again, I got to be careful. Oreos. Oreos came out with a new line of Oreos. Guess who makes them?
Who?
Lady Gaga.
Oh, fucking hell.
That fucking. You want to know what it says on them? Chromatica.
What?
Chromatica. With all of the allegations going on, do you think that maybe?
Oh, sorry, you broke up a little bit then. Oh no. Still frozen.
Hey. Oh wait, hold on. Now I can't hear you. No.
Know whether I was still actually on the on the thing.
How funny is that? I'm like, yo, I'm like, that just literally went chromatic. Like, God,
Like, where's she gone?
like the whole everything. My phone went down. I'm like, that was really weird. So yeah, it says that, and not only does it say that, on the other side, it has a picture of the heart in the heart in the heart. What is that?
It's isn't that like child love symbol?
Yeah. Like, why does that need to be on an Oreo?
It just doesn't, does it? Like, you know, going back to that exact same thing that you were just saying then about the symbolism in that same program that I was talking about, like the girl in it is in her bedroom and the art in the background is you know, like the spiral symbols and you know all the ones that FBI put out saying like this is what the symbolism is, and I was like, it's in your face so much, and it's just crazy, isn't it?
Literally. I mean, it's right there, and they don't care. There's toys. I saw a toy that had, it was like a girl stroller and it had the swirl. I'm like, whatever, maybe it's just, you know, me being me. So I'm like, let me see, it was made by Fisher Price. So I go on the, you know, the website and I see that toy. And I'm like, all right, and I see another one with it. But I happen to see that they have the TOTY Toy of the Year Awards. And guess what their symbol is?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, I've noticed that. I've actually I've seen it before.
Fucking joke, like.
But obviously, we're crazy though.
Yeah. It's just it's insane. And then you know what's crazy is that you hear when people, okay, so like the cut man Don, when he came out with the letter that we're not allowed to say on his uniform, and nothing really came of that. You remember how everybody was really freaked out and they thought that he was going to get fired and Dana White was going to, like, you know, get rid of him and all. Well, not going to happen. Dana White's friends with, you know, that there's no way that was going to happen. I knew there would be attention brought to it, but it kind of fizzled really fast.
Yeah, it did. It kind of nothing really. You didn't hear anything after that initial picture, did you?
No, and that was it. And then you have, you know, who's really heavily into the movement is Tito Ortiz and his wife are very heavily into fighting human trafficking. So is Chuck Liddell, Brandon Vera. So there's a lot of the fight community that's starting to get involved and starting to, you know, realize that things aren't really, you know, what they say. And it's crazy because you get all these fighters that were labeled crazy forever that look at maybe like Mayhem, maybe it wasn't so crazy.
That's it. I was saying this. I can't remember who I was speaking to, but like how woke the MMA community is. Like a lot of them anyway. And it's like, is it a fighter thing? Is it? I don't know. Like
I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't think we're brainwashed. I think that it's because you're not doing your typical what regular people do. You get up, you work, and that's it.
Yeah.
What do, and even journalists and people in my field, we get up, we do our job, but I don't go and do the 9 to 5. I don't go and, have to do something. I do stuff because I love it. And
Yeah.
there's a difference. And I think that's something like with fighters too, even though you guys do have work, but you have work that you love. Most fighters work in that community.
Yeah.
It's not really work, but regular people don't have that. Um, I would call it a luxury in a way where we are able to break out of that matrix, so to speak, where you're not in that 9 to 5, have to do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And so maybe there's a reason why we're more woke than other people. Also, maybe getting punched in the face might help.
I think it's also probably like we don't like conform to society. Like we don't, like say, don't have a 9 to 5 job. We don't sit there watching the news all day.
Yeah.
Things like that. I think as well, because when you do MMA, you kind of end up naturally going into coaching, and then you're coaching children, you're coaching adults, teenagers, and you've got that sense of like protection over people and wanting to, if you hear about these millions and millions of kids disappearing, in the night every year, you're going to want to ask questions about that. And that's what I think is crazy, like going back onto that, is that nobody's asking questions. And then when you put it out there, people are like, oh my God, why are you talking about that? Like it's such a taboo, subject. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think we've just, and as well, like not everyone in MMA, but a lot of people in MMA kind of come from a background where they've had to, it's quite a struggle. They've had to fight, to make ends meet, and they've had to fight because of obviously being tough in that area and seeing different things growing up. And I think that's probably one of the reasons as well, is that you don't just kind of, now they do, because MMA is more popular. You don't just come from like this rich background where you decided I'm gonna fight. A lot of the time it does, people coming from small areas, staying out of trouble basically, and things like that, and going back onto that type of thing. Like it's a community, isn't it, as well? So I think that's why we're probably a little bit more open-minded than other people, I would say, anyway.
Very much so. And I mean, you get fighters that come from all over the world. So say like the Jorge Masvidal's, why people are giving him a lot of shit about his political opinions. And I said, well, when you come from a communist country and you're ruled by dictators, you know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And you know what, forgive them for not wanting to be in that when they left that. You know what I mean? And I have friends that have come from El Salvador that are all, on the same page we are, that are like, we left that. We're not trying to make that little here.
Go back into that same situation that they've escaped from, basically.
And
yeah.
I'm watching all of these hearings, and a lot of the people that were working this whole election were, a lot of them were legal immigrants that moved here from different countries. And these people signed sworn affidavits. Those are like, you could go to jail for lying and being called a liar. And I mean, it was really amazing watching these two women that really like struck me. And they were both, one was from India, and the other one I think might have been like Middle Eastern. And the one woman, when she called her a liar, but not to her face, turned around and goes, the difference is I could say this in my sleep. I'll say it awake. And she goes, I'm not lying. And that's different. I mean, she got nasty with her. And the other girl almost started crying and said, this is my citizenship.
Yeah.
I can lose everything on this, and you're going to tell me I'm lying. Like, It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Never ever to see this day.
It's insane, isn't it? It's been the weirdest year, I think, ever. Like,
I'm 41 years old. This is the weirdest year ever. It's weirder than 9/11. Like that year was crazy. 2001. This is just by far takes the cake.
Yeah, because it's been like a full year of bullshit, though, hasn't it? Like it's not just been one like situation. It's been one after another, and so much
calendar year. We're looking at a full calendar year starting, I'd say, now. I mean, things started getting weird in December last year.
Yeah, and then it just gradually got worse and worse, and then obviously everything started from then. Because I don't know how bad the situation is in like the US with. I mean, I do know, but with the whole COVID thing and the rules, but it seems to be that each country have their own like situation going on. It's just crazy. Like the UK has just gone absolutely mad, and I think
you guys. I mean, I'm watching it. I watch it on TV. I watch One American News. It seems to show world news. It's the only reason why I watch it, because I want to know what's going on everywhere. And they're showing like all the protests and stuff in the UK. I mean, The fact that people are protesting for us in other countries is incredible. And I've
Yeah.
watched people in Nigeria protest for us. I'm like,
Like not like people getting branded like conspiracy theorists, or people are going to protest during a pandemic and all things like that, and they're bad people. But we're doing it for like the right reasons.
yeah,
It's
for
not
the
like
world. I mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day, when things end up on the better side because of people like us, we won't be forgotten in history. The history books are going to be written about people like us, people that were able to stand up and say, you know what? I don't care what you guys think. I'm fighting for something.
yeah,
I don't care if you think that I'm this. I'm fighting for. Our generation is literally, and I will consider all of us right now alive now that are living through this a singular generation. We're history itself.
yeah,
You know what I mean? This is literally, I'd say another 19 something. You know what I mean? Like this is just it's bigger than anything because this is affecting the entire world. We've had world wars, but this is just different.
yeah. It is, and it's just because it's because of everything combined though. Like there's so many different lies, and there's propaganda, and there's all different things going on at the same time as this pandemic, and it's just been one of the most confusing but yet kind of enlightening years
Mm,
as well, because you kind of figure out like the people you can trust, and what
yeah.
type sources of information you can trust, and what to believe, what not to believe, and what to question, and what it's kind of helped a lot of people, but obviously destroyed a lot of things at the same time, and it's
Mm.
made me like completely hate some people, and completely like I hate watching TV now, hate watching movies, because I kind of hate a lot of people that are in there, and I can't enjoy anything.
I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things. I'm literally on the same exact level you are. And I said to my sister the other day, am I going to like burn all my movies? Like, am I literally going to be that person sitting outside with a bonfire? Like, check this in. Well, this one might have go. Well, go into the wood chipper. I mean,
That's it. Like I think I was watching American Horror Story, which I loved on Netflix, and then some people, and I was like, fucking. So like I kind of had to get over, the fact that I don't like the person to enjoy the thing, and like I say, I can't watch anything anymore. Cartoons, Simpsons, I can't watch. There's so many different things that I used to like, and now I can't watch it anymore because
I said the same thing. I like literally like we can't have nice things anymore. Like there's nothing. Like I'm don't even listen to music anymore because I'm like, am I being programmed by? I know, and it sounds crazy, but it's not.
yeah,
I have friends in the military that have told me, like, dude, they're like, you're not crazy. They're like, we get experimented on. Like, they're like, you're not wrong
yeah,
at all. The military people will be the first people to tell you that the one thing you shouldn't trust is, what they're all telling you. They
yeah,
do the same thing. Like, don't trust it. My friends have been saying that this is going to be there's going to be like a world event. You know what I mean? Like something really big and bigger than what we're having already. Like, how much bigger does it get?
it's. Well, I think it will do, won't it? We're probably not even at the middle point at this point, I
Not,
think.
not. And I think honestly, I personally think the revolution will be when it's like really exposed with all the kids, because that's got to be the one thing to wake everybody up.
Yeah, I mean, but there's been loads of like this is what frustrates me is there's been loads of rescue missions, haven't they? And they're in different types of,
Enough,
but they never.
because of all the people that follow cute, the letter we can't say.
Yeah,
All the people that follow that and put their timelines on it, like, oh, these people are going to be arrested this day, this is going to happen at that time, and nothing's really happened, at least that we know of. Now, I put up yesterday, I forget what media I was watching. Oh no, it was One American News, and they were saying that all the left media is freaking out, saying that that they're going to pardon all of his kids. And I said, well, that just plays into my theory as to why a lot of people haven't been arrested, because they were pardoned already.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, I was crazy when I said it in the beginning, but now that your TV's saying it, is it so crazy?
Yeah.
You know?
Because as soon as it's in like mainstream media, it's in the news and it's on TV. People believe it. But at the same time, like going back onto that is onto the COVID thing as well. Is in Sky News. I don't know if you've heard of that in the US. Like we have a broadcast called Sky News, and they literally put on there. He was a guy that came out and he was talking about the COVID deaths, how they actually put the COVID deaths down. and
Yeah.
saying if you've tested positive and then a month later get run over by a car and die, be
Mhm.
put down that you've died from COVID. And
Absolutely.
I was watching this going, is this fucking like serious? And then people at home probably are watching it, but not even taking in what he's actually said. And then, you know, the next day it'll come out saying like, oh, there's been so many thousand deaths and everyone's shitting themselves. You think the guy's just told you that it doesn't matter whether you're not even, you know, like that you've not been to hospital because of that. You could have had your head chopped off. And they're still counting it as that. And it's like, I don't know what you can put.
It's crazy. It's just so insane. And you know, the crazier thing is bringing back to MMA. A couple of my friends were telling me that like that's really the only thing that they're testing for right now is COVID.
Yeah.
That fight. So people are probably getting in there a little juiced.
Probably a lot, James. If that's all that's
Testing a lot. I think from what I heard, it's mostly COVID and like you know, the happen HIV, but I don't think they're testing for a lot of stuff.
really.
I know they're not testing for pot. All my friends are smoking.
I mean, well, who was it? Nico Price recently got tested for marijuana, and you think, fucking hell, come on, like he's banned now, isn't he?
I believe that because that was before COVID hit. That was like right before, I think.
Oh no, it wasn't. It was that was still behind closed doors, wasn't it? It was in Las Vegas. I'm sure it was
Oh,
at the Apex.
legal there.
Because it was. I'm sure it was because it was the cowboy.
Legal there. You know that, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
In Vegas, it is.
I'll have to Google when that fight was. So Nico Price.
That makes me sick. And you know what? This is all falls into the USADA. And I could tell you, you know, I'm a competitor. I play pool.
Yeah.
Now doing jujitsu. I mean, I used to, but like now really, really training again. I can play pool high like a motherfucker. I am like the best player. You give me a little bit of pot and put me on a pool table and I will wipe the table with anybody. You put me on a mat and I don't know my right from my left. Literally, John's like, what happened to you? He's like, need elbow. I'm like, where?
Which one? Oh, I've just got it up here
Wow. Which leg is flat? Like, I don't even know what leg's in the air. Like, I do not know. I cannot do a knee to elbow escape when I am high at all.
That's too much coordination, isn't it?
Easiest thing in the world to do. I cannot do a basic move. Cannot do.
20th of September this year was Nico Price and Cowboy. So was that at the Apex? It must have been.
That's insane. That's not right.
Yeah. So it's
the way that I see it. They shouldn't ever overturn anybody's win, and they shouldn't give them any kind of anything for marijuana. It's not an answer by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's definitely not. And I think it's yeah, they've changed it to a no contest. It was a draw anyway, but still, I prefer a draw than a no contest because that's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, a no contest sucks, but I mean, it's a foolish thing at this point. It's politics.
It's what? Sorry,
pure politics at this point. And fines and how much money can we make off the fighter? That's gonna. It's so stupid. I mean,
it's not fair at all. I don't think.
No.
People have been getting away with, like when TJ got away with his EPOs for however long,
And you're shooting that up. It's not even like you can mistake and go, oh, well, it was a tainted this, it was a this, it was a that. No, and John Jones is the only fighter that's allowed to fight with a performance enhancer in him all the time.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy, isn't it?
Never not going to be able to. John Jones will always, and I said this is the difference, is that every fighter, if you want to get to the UFC, you need to learn how to market yourself because that is what gets you the money. It doesn't really matter. Your skill in the UFC is only a portion of who you are as a fighter. Your commodity as a fighter more than anything. Your skill is just, okay, so can she get in there and get in a fight, but can she sell tickets? That's the question. Like, you are never going to see them cut John Jones.
No.
I think Ronda Rousey is still on the roster. I could be wrong. She's not retired.
Yeah, I don't think she's ever actually come out and said she's retired, has she?
No. So she might still be ranked. I have to look that up just to make sure. John Jones will never be cut. Weidman will never be cut. Joanna will never get cut. There's just like names that even, and when she had her couple losses, people were like, oh no, she needs this win.
And you think that, and the next minute she's thrown into another title shot, and you think,
Never
what
gonna
the fuck?
would never be cut. McGregor would never be cut. Jose Aldo will never be cut. Some
Mhm.
other guys that we see in there that like, question marks, never gonna go because people like to see them.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I absolutely love Cowboy. Like, he's one of my favorite fighters. I just love him. But he probably, I mean, he will eventually, because obviously he's getting to the end of his career now, isn't he? And it's more for his safety than anything, because he is getting older and he's got 2 kids and he should.
Yeah, how many shots can you take?
That's exactly it. And, he's a tough guy. He will take shots and he loves to scrap. But he's another one of them. Like, he could have been cut years ago, but he won't, because he's.
He will have to cut himself. They will not cut him. His
Yeah.
team will have to say, we're not going to corner you and back you anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Even, and it took them a long time to say, we're done with like BJ Penn. You know what I mean? Like,
that was a painful situation though, wasn't it, with BJ Penn? I wish someone physically dragged him out of the gym and said, you're not fighting again. But
yeah. I mean, certain people, but then, there's starting to be something to be said. And I do love like the legend fights that they have in Bellator. I love that. I don't mind seeing, like, even watching Roy Jones and Mike Tyson. No, it wasn't the greatest fight in the world, but it's still, you're seeing 2 legends in there. And it's not like you're seeing a legend in there with a really young up and comer who's just going to smoke them either.
Yeah, that's true. And it's nice to see as well. Like, I've had this conversation before, I've said it a few times, but it's like, as a fighter, if you've done that your entire life, when do you actually stop? Because it's almost like a purpose, isn't it? Like, they get up every day and train to fight, and it's like, when do you stop?
I like that. I like that. I think it's good to keep people like if Randy Couture wanted to get back in there, let him in with a Boss Rutan or somebody that's like in his age range where you know what I mean? That maybe they're both low T and stuff.
Yeah.
That, I think, is a better matchmaking, especially for the older guys. I feel like that would be a really good way to,
you could have had that conversation, when Cowboy got matched with, was it Hernandez? Was that the young lad, wasn't it? The young lightweight. But then he bust his ass, didn't he? He beat him, and it's like,
you could go either way.
Yeah, that's why you never count him out, isn't it? It's like he can still beat these young guys if he.
Like Glover, everybody always talks like always. Everybody's Glover's gonna lose. I'm like, people think that about him. I'm like, he's don't count him out. He's always like pulling him out,
To be honest, with that last fight, I thought maybe he's looking a little slower. He is getting older, and then did he armbar or did he choke him? I can't remember what he did.
No.
I can't remember, but I was like, shit, okay, fair enough. Like,
right?
He's still in the game. He's not, and he says he's not going anywhere, didn't he? So
he's not going to go anywhere. He's always going to be fighting. He trains up in Connecticut, so he's like 1 state away from me.
Yeah. What do you think about Yoel being like removing himself from the UFC? Did you see that?
I did not.
Romero's not in the UFC anymore.
It's been
this morning, I think. Like, when I opened my Instagram.
That's definitely why I didn't see it. What happened?
It just says that he's like not. He's released. He's been released from UFC. But I've not read too much into it. It was MMA fighting.com, I think, when I looked at it. But it just has like a picture of Romero and it just says breaking, like Romero's released.
He went to another promotion.
I don't understand why he would go though. Like,
you never know. He could. I mean, Bellator has money that like shocks me. They really do, because of the names that they've been able to pull and stuff. It kind of blows me away, Bellator. So you never know. I doubt he'd be over fighting, and I don't see people ever really getting over.
Yeah.
I
think is he 43? Yoel, he's in his 40s.
He's not young.
Yeah, but I think he probably will go to Bellator, and then he'll probably beat a lot of Bellator fighters and get a lot of money, I think.
Oh yeah. And then there's another. I love that. I love watching like the fighters from different promotions.
Yeah,
who really is the top of the top, and there's not. It's a name. You know what I mean? A promotion is a promotion. But I love that, and I always said I want to see like a lot of cross promotion, like champion fights, or even just not even to like not to rank, because if it's a cross promotion, you can't really, that always takes away something from it. But like what Bellator did with, what was it? Was it with One or Ryzen?
It was Ryzen. I think they crossed over, didn't they?
I love it.
which was pretty cool actually to see them.
Yeah, my friend Lindsay fought Reina, and then I forget Haraguchi fought, I can't remember, and he ended up vacating the title. That was last December.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. That was at Madison Square Garden, that crossover card. It was really good.
I think didn't Demetrius Johnson have a crossover fight as well with one? I think that was with one.
He had a crossover with one, but he actually Demetrius Johnson's now signed by one.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah, but I'm sure
Eddie Alvarez is signed by one.
Yeah.
One is doing a atomweight females tournament this year.
Oh really?
Yeah,
they're so tiny, aren't they? They're so cute.
It's so much fun to watch. It really is. And I know a lot of girls that like wanted to. And then one of my friends I interviewed, Alicia, she's the atomweight champion over at Invicta. She was thinking about that, but Shannon and her talked, and she ended up getting, oddly enough, a better deal, and because she could fight out of her contract with Invicta over at Bellator if she wanted to, or in Ryzen. Yeah. So there's a lot of room for that. But I was really shocked. I thought she was going to go over to one, and Shannon was like, no, we're working this out.
One seems the place to be as well. Like, for a lot of the smaller fighters anyway, because obviously they've got the more, avenues for the smaller fighters there. But yeah, like they're kind of nearly on a par with like UFC now, aren't they? Like there's so many, all the different promotions seems to be putting on massive performances and getting really good fighters in there. So there's loads of competition, I think, at the moment, which is good.
Gonna start picking up. I do have a friend that works for Gamma and said that they're going to start doing a lot of stuff. So I do believe that things are going to start kind of calming down. And, maybe this was a good year for everybody to kind of take like a mental check and a mental break. And, so maybe things kind of taking a little lull was good. Who knows? I mean, like I was going 20 miles an hour all day until January.
Yeah. And that's it. It's good. It's like you said. There's pros. Obviously, there's a lot of cons to the year, but there's also it's how you've dealt with it, isn't it? How you've used your time and energy into like bettering yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people, should have done. And it's what I've done as well, which is a really good thing.
Yeah. Now, your gym, is your gym open? Like, because I know that a lot of it here, it's like a backdoor kind of thing, that the gym's not really open. You're more kind of sliding through the back, which whatever.
Yeah, so it's like the UK government have just like balls everything up. Basically, they've not really given us any type of like real instruction. So what we did was for quite a few months, obviously we only had the professional athletes in a bubble that were training, which was good. After a couple of months after being locked down, should I say, that came back on, which was really good. So the fighters
like that here, they didn't, and it's not right. That was a problem, that MMA fighters and gyms, you have professional teams. You know what I mean? And I said that was an argument that they should have made.
Yeah. So they've done that, which was really good. So all the professional athletes, and we've not got really that many at the gym. We've got a lot of amateurs, but only a handful of pros. So that was good. We could train, and then they opened up again because they put us into like tiers, which like tier 3 is like total lockdown, tier 2 a little bit relaxed and everything. So then they opened the gym back up to the public, but all of the classes were socially distant. So that was quite hard to start off with because obviously jiu-jitsu and MMA and kickboxing is it's contact, so we had to kind of figure out how to do classes which nobody was touching each other, so that was a bit of a pain. Yeah, but then we got into it, and obviously we got into a good rhythm. Then we got we could only have a certain amount of people on, but we figured it out, and then all of a sudden they locked us down again, and then we're like, fuck. So
and locked us down again. We seem to be doing pretty well. Anybody in an athletic community, it seems to be doing pretty well. I mean, I've trained with my coach John. He trains at Law and Sarah's excuse me or did. I don't want to say does because of the everything, the lockdown. They're not, no one's open. But everybody that we've trained with, I can count on my hands. There's been quite a few people that have had COVID or we've been exposed to it. And I mean, luckily, I don't really consider it luck. I was talking to John. I said, well, we're all very healthy. We all, we're training a lot. You're keeping your body up. I drink. I make. I don't know if you've ever heard of chaga mushrooms.
I take them. Yeah.
You do. I make a tea out of them.
I take them every day.
Do you make them or do you take it in a supplement?
I get it. It's like an organic supplement of chaga, and I've got some with lion's mane and shit like that as well.
Lion's mane is amazing. So what you should do, I'm gonna message you the name of the company that I use. I get it from it's in upstate New York, Adirondack chaga. Anyway, so what I get is I get it in the mushroom form, and it looks like a piece of bark. It's not even like a mushroom.
Yeah,
And
it looks
I
great,
get it
doesn't
in
it?
a hot pot, just one piece, and I cook it for like 6 hours, slow roll it, take it out, and I make my cold teas out of them. I don't get sick. It's an antiviral. It's an antifungal. I mean, that chaga has so many healing properties to it that I think everybody in the world should be drinking it, and it's not even like known.
Yeah. That's it. Like, I've also got coffee with it as well, which is like it's the powder, it's the mushroom ground up. So I do drink it. Sometimes I take it, but it's so strong with coffee. It's like fucking.
So good for you. It's chaga is like literally. People are like, you haven't gotten. I'm like, no. My friend had it 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, I don't think anybody else really got it, so I think it was a false positive. But because the thought that he might have, I was like, all right, let me do the quarantine thing just in case. So I did. I quarantined for 14 days, self quarantined.
Yeah.
And this is why, like the CDC, people contact tracing and shit. It's kind of stupid because normal people like me are gonna go, okay, well, let me just take care all the side of question. I'll stay home. Never got sick. None of our friends got sick. He was the only one. So
Yeah.
clearly, that was a false positive, and I told him he should have gotten retested, but whatever. Um, and a lot of people like, how come you didn't? I said, I don't let myself live in like a environment where I'm gonna get sick. I haven't been sick in like not knock on wood like 2 years, but that's because I drink this and
Yeah.
frankincense water.
That's it. I mean, touch wood again. Like this year, this whole entire year. Like, well, actually, how long have I been having Straga for? Probably over a year, and I've not so much had the sniffles. Like, it's crazy.
I
And
get allergies. I mean, but like I really don't get sick, and it's
yeah,
crazy. And I really attribute it to that.
and I take like high strength, like liquid form of vitamin D3 as well, which I take that all the time.
I take vitamin D. Yep.
Yeah, so that's people need to get onto that as well.
Well, that like is the three number one problems with COVID: the vitamin D deficiency,
Hmm.
obesity, diabetes.
Yeah.
That's the three big comorbidities. So what does that
Um,
say to you? Lock
what
them in, keep them in the house.
and what did he say? Stay at home,
Yeah.
go and eat junk food because we put it 50% off. So
Hmm.
you're eating shit anyway. You're staying at home, you're not exercising, and your immune system's just gonna go to shit. So
Yeah.
it's like it's perfect, isn't it? How they put it together. But obviously, again, we're crazy, and that's it's just a coincidence. But yeah, I think that's what everybody should be taking is the chaga and the vitamin D, definitely chaga anyway.
Clearly, it works.
Yeah, it does. My brother does the same thing as well. Like he's very much into like organic, like groceries, organic, like supplements and things like that, and taking like the mushrooms and everything. He's really healthy and fit as well. Like I don't think I ever see him unwell.
Do you both
But
train as well?
he used to, but he doesn't train at the moment. But because of his job, but he's really healthy. Like that's what he prides himself on as well. So it obviously works because I don't think the only time I ever seen him unwell was when he went to Mexico and he actually did get like a parasite or something.
Yeah.
But that was the only time I've ever seen him unwell. Other than that, that was like a few years ago, and I've not seen him unwell since. And he does the same routine as me. The
Yeah.
vitamin D and B12 and all this different shit that we take. So, but like it's the weirdest thing is the Leon Edwards testing positive, and he's really unwell.
Yeah.
That like blew my mind a little bit because I was thinking, a lot of the healthy people, it's not really affecting him that much, and there's been a lot of false positives. But apparently, he's been very unwell. So I
I
don't know.
think there's got to be something why it's and this is another thing, like why does it target people different ways? You know what I mean? Like I look at it, that's the critical thinking, like why is it targeting people in so many different ways?
But why is flu at an all-time low? Like, has COVID eradicated the flu? Like,
Wait,
what the fuck?
like I'm like, are we still getting sick, regular sick, or is it just COVID? Like I don't know what's going on here.
That's it.
Do we
Like,
get colds?
someone that I know was like, "Oh, I've got a blocked nose and I'm sneezing," and I was like, first of all, that isn't a COVID symptom.
No, that's allergy.
Second, yeah, like other people, like you can sneeze, you can cough. It doesn't mean that that you.
Sneezed last night in a restaurant, literally, and I went, "Oh no!" And my friend went, "What?" And I was like, "Choo, choo." And I looked around and I'm like, "Allergies."
I was in a car with my auntie, and
I just
I
took my vape pen and I started coughing into my thing, and this woman just looks at me and she's like, and I'm like, "It's weed, I swear, you can smell it." And she was like, "Oh,
that's it.
it's acceptable to go, it's weed."
Yeah, that's the only time you can say it, and it's fine.
Who
But
knew?
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like I've been in supermarkets before and think like I just need to clear my throat, but then you think, what are they going to think? Like everybody gets so
You're gonna
like
get out of there.
yeah,
Mind you, right? This is what got me the other day. I'm sitting there and one of my friends was like talking about that, the mask work, this and that. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, do you wear gloves when you go shopping? And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, do you wear anything on your hands when you go shopping? Anything? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, when you hit that keypad on the credit card thing, you touch that? Do you touch it with anything? And she's like, no. I'm like, so you're telling me that this is protecting, but the biggest organ
the
on
skin.
your entire body is off limits? I'm like,
I mean, to be honest, like I've not actually wore a mask or anything from the beginning.
no, we get shamed.
Yeah,
I
we do as well, but I don't give a shit, to be honest.
The only time I've worn one, the 2 and a quarter times that I do wear them is one, if I'm in a store and it's completely crowded, like where everybody's on top of each other, and that I literally leave because I'm that person. I'm like, I'm not sitting here for like 5 hours like that. I'm out.
Yeah, I don't like that anyway, to be
Or
honest.
to a restaurant and it's a small business's restaurant. If it's like
Yeah,
I was at like a chain one and I was walking around without it, and people were like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "I don't give a fuck." But last night we went to a little restaurant around the corner with two of my friends, and they were like, "How are we gonna go out? You're like so anti-mask." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not anti-establishment. Like I know people have to like keep their businesses open, and I'm not gonna like cost somebody their license because of my attitude." I said, "No, no, I'll wear it. I support small businesses." And they were like, "Oh, we thought you did." And I'm like, "No, I do." So, I said I have no problems with wearing it in there because I want people to keep their business open. So for me, it's just 2 seconds. But I said, if you look at the ridiculousness of it, we walk in the door and then we go to the table, take it off, and the second you're leaving, you put it. It makes no sense.
yeah, because it's not like you say, it's not that trying to be a rebel and be an asshole about the situation. It's just that none of it makes sense. Like you say, you can go when the pubs, they're not open yet, the pubs and restaurants, because we're in tier 3 again. But you can order beer in a pub and you can stay in there only if you have food.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have food, you're not the pub can't stay open. You think how is that making any difference? The having food and
You want to know what it is?
go on.
At least in America, there was no tax on liquor.
Oh, right. Okay. So they need the food tax. Fuck. It's crazy, isn't it? When you look into it, that makes perfect sense. It's not going to stop COVID getting in if you're having a Sunday dinner.
10 o'clock theory. 10:01 it comes out at night. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
Actually listening to that? Like,
Do you know you're also, I don't know whether this is in the US, but you're not allowed to stand up in a bar either. So like you have to sit down. You're not allowed to sing. And
you're not allowed to sing. And I'm like, you see, I'm so bad. Like literally I walk around and I'm like, I'm singing. Like I just mess with people now because I'm like, what are we doing? What kind of world are we living in that we can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this? And I'm like,
yeah, it's like thinking about it, like like you say, critical thinking again. Like you don't have to be you're not being an asshole about the situation. If you listen to the actual rules, they make no sense.
none.
It's nothing other than controlling what you're doing. Like I'm not saying I'm a crazy person and nobody tells me what to do, but none of what they're saying to do,
I don't know what to do.
like none of the stuff that they're telling you what to do is going to help the situation. Like say, no standing up in a bar, but I've walked in the bar.
Yeah.
So what's the difference with that? And then don't sing, okay? And then it's just like it's all this mad, crazy things, and like I just think it's so stupid. But
It's it's borderline the stupidest situation I've ever seen, because I remember when, like, we've had pandemics, and I remember seeing people walk around with the mask on. Those were
yeah,
people that were sick, and I remember, like, everybody would walk 10 feet away from them. You know what I mean? And, like, that all of a sudden everybody has to wear one. Whatever happened to the theory, if you're sick, stay home.
yeah.
I
Because
was
what?
always, when I was a kid and I didn't feel good, like, my mom would be, "Unless you have a fever, you're going to school." That's
Yeah,
stupid. It's a really selfish way of thinking about things. And then when I was, like, working and out of school, I would always, that my biggest thing was, I'm not, if I don't feel good, I'm not going. I'm just taking the day. And, you know, I remember, like, my dad would even be like, he's like, "You're off today?" I'm like, "I'm not feeling good." And he's like, "But you look fine." I'm like, "But I'm not feeling great, and I don't feel like I should be around people. What if I get everybody whatever I have?"
yeah,
And I would always get sick, but, like, say somebody would have, like, a strep or whatever, like, they'd have, like, a really bad sickness, but I wouldn't get it so bad.
yeah,
I never got it that bad. But when I was smoking cigarettes back in the day, then I would get, like, super sick, but, like, I wouldn't get that bad, so I'm like, "Well, okay, that's great that I'm not, but somebody else might." So I always looked at it like that, and if we lived in a society where more people thought of it like that, there wouldn't be people walking around sick.
yeah. That's it. And it's the same with like gyms as well, isn't it? Like we always say, if you're feeling unwell, regardless of COVID, just don't come in because it's a place where the bacteria is going to breed. You're touching everyone, and like say even in schools as well, if you're unwell, just stay at home, and
Yes.
then that's just simple. Like it's the same thing that I've been going on my Instagram with like the testing situation. People are going to get tested when there's nothing wrong with them. And it's
Yeah.
like, if nothing wrong with you, why are you going to check if you've got something wrong with you? And then obviously a lot of the false positives, and then that's ranking. That's what happened in Manchester was, well, the north obviously of the UK was everybody started going get tested.
Mhm.
Loads of false positives, like they've said on the news. They've said that I think it's like 97% of positives they said are actually false positives. You think
Yeah.
what the fuck? Um, and then that ramped the cases up, and then we get put back in lockdown again. But I don't get the whole situation with it's the cases that they're worried about. And surely it would be deaths. The cases don't
That
mean anything.
should be the worry, should be the morbidity and the, like, how long you stay in that, you know what I mean? Not like, okay, well, if you get better and there's cases, like they keep on saying, cases are gonna go up when you're gonna get tested. It just is what it is. So the more
Yeah,
people get tested, the more cases you're gonna, I mean, it just
and
makes
that's it.
sense. You
Yeah,
know, it really just makes sense. And if you do the actual math, like we're saying, no, with 3 and 1 don't equal 5. So what they're doing is just, to any normal person, it shouldn't make any sense.
yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. And that's like, but I've had this conversation. Like I always speak to my mum about it, because I live with my mum, and she's saying like, oh, you need to stop like worrying about posting things on Instagram and things like that. I'm saying I'm not doing it to go on as if like I'm this amazing person and I know loads of stuff. I'm just showing people what's really available, like the actual information, because it's just I don't like the fact that people are in fear and they're terrified of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like the public health, the government website that we've got in the UK, and it has a table. I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram. It's a table of the average death age, the average. So like how they figured it out, and it's
Mhm.
in the high 80s, and that's an average death age. So that means that the deaths are a lot higher, like the age is a lot higher than that as well. And it's 83, I think, for
Yeah,
females and something like that. And you think that is a good age. Like some people are dying
the
before.
normal age in
Yeah,
America, 80s is like you're kinda, nearing the end. That's
yeah.
normal.
And then it's like why the scaring people. Like I know somebody who I mean I won't say any names because obviously it's not fair to tell like to speak about them, but give them a situation. um and she was terrified of like not meeting up with me because we weren't touching anyone. It was for Secret Santa at work, and they wanted to like put the a present, because we do Secret Santa every year, and obviously we're not supposed to be meeting each other. And then they wanted me to wear a mask when we were like really far away from each other outside, and I was like, I'm not wearing a mask. Like, why do I need to wear a mask when I'm not going to be near anyone
Yeah.
and in the fresh air? And you see a lot of people like wearing them outside, and I think it's scaring people into thinking that they're infectious. when they're not infectious.
Right. I see people and I laugh. I'm like, literally, like last night, I'm walking around and there's people outside in the fresh air, all of them walking around, and I'm just like, fuck me, like, I don't care.
I think it's bad because it makes you feel like you're a bad, like almost like you're a bad person because I'm not wearing a mask. But
Yes.
you should be like. The thing is where does it end?
Your mask is protecting you. You shouldn't worry about what I'm doing.
Yeah,
It works. Don't worry about what I'm
that's it. And it's like, where does it end? Where does this situation end? Is this going to happen forever now? Are people just going to wear masks forever?
like my friend comes over to my house last night, and I'm not going to say names like you. I don't want to be that person, but love her dearly, and comes over with like the bejeweled mask.
That's one of my pet hates as well. Is the all the fancy masks and branded masks. You think, fuck you, like the Adidas, fuck you, like Nike.
As an Nikki, I like that word better, by the way, because that's her actual name, the goddess Nikki. But no, you're right. And I said that, I'm like, at the beginning, I said, watch, it's going to be the newest accessory.
Yep. I literally put it on my Facebook. I said, I wonder how many like branded, brands are going to come out with like all these different face masks with like the brand logo on it. And they did like instantly, like straight away. And I was like, if this is a pandemic and people are dying, why are you jumping in straight away to take money off people? It's just, it's unbelievable.
On it. Yet these could be given away. And I said that, like, there's a lot of stuff that you could be doing philanthropic work. The whole world could be going, well, you know what? We're going to just do this for the good of humanity. And they're not. It's for the good of our pocket. And like, I get people got to make money, but like the branding, I was just like, I looked at her and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And she's like, well, and I'm like, not only are you wearing like a bedazzled mask, you have the fucking thing to hold it around your neck. She looks at me and she's like, don't start with me. I'm like, you're the fucking problem. I love you. I said, I love you dearly, dearly. I said, but you're the fucking problem. And she just looked at me. That's all I had to say.
But I think as well, I've seen people obviously with like, the diamantes and all the different shit on the front of the mask, and that's actually covering the holes that you need to breathe out of it. So how are you breathing out of it? Like, like it's just, I've seen loads of people wear them as well with all the different stuff on the front, and it's just like crazy.
Or people, what about what was it, Alyssa Milano with a crocheted one?
A crocheted one.
I think Alyssa Milano had a crocheted mask on with holes in it, because that's going to do anything for you.
Exactly. And it's stupid. It's just, if you ask, I think I seen was it a poll? I can't remember, but that said, are you wearing a mask to protect yourself, or are you wearing a mask because they've said to wear it? And like 90% said because they've told me to wear it.
It's so true. I was at a supermarket and I just walked in, and I'm walking through, and this guy stops me and he's like, ma'am, this was just 2-3 days ago. He's like, where's your mask? And I was like, oh, wait. I'm like, where are we? And he goes, the name of the store. And I'm like, yeah, last time I checked, this is in communist China. And he looks at me, I'm like, oh, and I have a medical, whatever it's called, the medical where you don't have your exemption. And he just looks at me and I'm like, see you later. I just kept moving.
They can't, I don't think
they got this far. I'm like, we don't live in China.
It's not a legal requirement though, is it? To wear, it's not a legal requirement to wear a mask. It's just, they've just said it's mandatory, but it's not like there's no law against.
No law.
Yeah, like it's not like they can arrest you for not wearing a mask.
Arrest you. They can try to fine you, but you can absolutely fight it because there is no law. It's not a federal mandate to wear one. Yeah. They're asking you to wear one pretty much, because if you go into a store, yeah, it says you must wear a mask, but there is now something over the loudspeaker, unless you have a medical exemption, unless.
Yeah,
you have to wear them. Oh yeah, people. I get like to look. I'm in a store and there's people on top of each other on the checkout line. Like there's those little markers in front of you for a reason, right? But yet they all have. I just took it right off. Like, what am I doing? And I looked at the lady behind me, and she's like so close. I'm like, can you step back a couple feet? And she just looked at me. I'm like, there's those things on the floor for a reason.
The best part about those markers on the floor, we have them in all of our supermarkets, but the queues are next to each other, so there's like 2 meters apart this way, but next to each other in the other queue, it's not. It's like half a meter between, so you think I'm safe here, but not next to you there. And it's like nothing, you know, it's just to kind of cover their ass, isn't it? Like, oh, we have put stickers down, we have asked people to wear a mask.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Oh
it's
my gosh. One of my friends' fathers is keeping a booklet of everybody he's been in contact with.
oh God. He's got his own track and trace going on.
His mother was a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
Like, what the fuck didn't you learn about? I mean,
Yeah. Damn.
yeah.
You wouldn't want to go back into that type of situation.
This is like Nazi shit, guys. Like, this like actually happened once.
Yeah. And it's like, there's people are saying, aren't they, like with the police who are totally enforcing all of the rules, and it's like, I'm just doing my job. Like, shit, that happened a long time ago. You know, people saying, I'm just doing my fucking job.
You want to know what? And I said this, and I've said this to a couple of my friends because I've been to Back the Blue rallies, and I've literally said to their faces, you guys are going to have to take a stand at some point, and you guys are going to have to pick a side. And they all just kind of look at us, and I'm like, if we're backing you at some point, you guys are going to have to pick a fucking side.
Yeah.
And that time's coming soon. Because the guy said, you know, what do you guys think is going to happen? And we were actually outside of one of the news stations that were misreporting all of our rallies. So we were like, well, we're just going to bring the rally to them, and brought like 1,000 people to the to the news station. And we're like, we were going to storm it. And there were Homeland Security was there. They knew we were going to walk into that and be like, oh, you're going to lie now say that we're two of us.
Yeah.
And the cop's like, you know, what do you guys think is going to happen? And I sat there and said exactly verbatim what I believe is going to happen. And he said, well, then you guys are going to need us. And I went, I'm like, I'm sorry, that was really cute. Like, you guys are going to need us. Just throwing that out there. I don't know what you've watched. And they're all like, I'm like, you're going to need us.
Yeah.
Don't know what you're watching. Don't know what you guys have been seeing on the TV. But from what I've been looking at, y'all going to need help.
Yeah.
So, and I said a long time ago, you're going to see a direct divide, and you're starting to see it of this and that. It's like good versus evil. And you're going to see it in the military. You're going to see it with the cops. You're going to see it with everybody. You're going to see a real line down the middle.
That's it. And it's, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and obviously people are focusing on the wrong thing. They should be focusing on like the actual human race, not, you know, not your side, this side, I believe in this, I believe in that. It's the people
in it together. It should affect all of us. Like, I remember when this first started, and it was really like bad in the UK. It was bad in Italy, and Glasgow got hit really bad in the beginning. And like at first, it was like a mini 9/11 where the whole world was like concerned. And you know, I remember when it first happened, I was like, "Oh, this is coming here next."
Mm-hmm.
That was my first like literal reaction was, oh fuck, this is coming here next. My friend's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you don't think things can just kind of like travel, considering you're like one of the biggest travel spots in the world?
That's it. But you know, looking back at when it first started, all of the like propaganda videos that came out with you see, remember in China, the China hospitals, everybody like shit.
Right.
I was like, shit, and people dropping dead in the street. That's never happened. And it's like, you know, when we watched that, was like
happening. I have my friend's uncle's wife was saying, she was telling them everything that was going on and was saying, no, we've been over. They were over this for a long time.
Yeah. I remember being in the car and it was on the news, and I was like, oh, that, you know, that's not going to come over here. You know, that's bullshit. Because you hear a lot of times, don't you, like, oh, this virus has happened and track and saying it. Like,
over there for a second.
Yeah. And like Ebola was happening, wasn't it? And everyone thought, shit, that's going to come over here. But then that never did.
Well, had that here twice.
Ebola?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
During the previous administration.
Yeah.
We had it twice during his.
No way. I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought they actually contained that quite well. But
we have fucking had everything here. SARS, H1N1, swine flu, you name, we've had it here. That's why I'm like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Remember, I've lived through a lot of this shit. I'm 41 years old. I acutely remember watching 9/11 happen. I was 18 years old. So I've lived through so much. You know, I remember one of my first rallies I went to, there were two young girls that were probably like 18, and they were so cute. And you could see they were like really like stepping back from everybody. And I'm like, what's wrong? And they're like, the virus, the this, the that. And I'm like, listen, I'm 41 years old. And they were like, what? And I'm like, I know. I'm like, but I am. And I've lived through a lot of stuff and I'm still here.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, thank you. I'm really glad that somebody, I'm like, I don't know why your parents aren't telling you that. Like, where are your parents? Like, I want to talk to them.
My mum does say similar things to that because she's like, Levi, she's 53, 54, I think. No, yes, 54. And she's like, I've, lived through a lot of shit already. Like, at least this is just.
You're gonna be my kid. Your mom's not much older than me. I'm 41. She's like a couple years older than me. That's crazy. But it's true. And I yelled at my mom the other day. I said, it's people like you that should fucking know better.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you make me sick, you know better. You've lived through all this shit. Come on. Like, I get really upset about that. I do. And like one of my great aunts, I remember she would talk to all of us about like all crazy sorts of shit. And I'm like, Aunt Lorraine's rolling in her grave right now, Ma.
Yeah.
If you saying some shit you were saying, she'd be like, bitch, come over here. I'm going to show you some videos.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And I think that's why I wanted to chat with you, because I knew you'd be on the same wavelength as it. And it's because I did get a little bit of stick, on Facebook and stuff, and I ended up deleting Facebook. So I was like, do you know what? Nobody has the same view. People think you're just this crazy person, but it's nice.
Yeah, that I got. I mean, I had to leave the publication I was writing for because of how bad it got.
Yeah, and it's not just the because obviously there's a lot of politics side of that, wasn't it? But it's also, it's giving people facts. We're not trying to be good people. We just want people to understand that what they're being told isn't the exact truth. And
I don't think people to think a little bit and to question things. Like, don't just blindly follow them, and I mean, I've seen people get shitted on for having a different opinion. I've seen it at a small level and to a huge level. So I know it could get really, really, really bad. And that's the sad part about it. I mean, they use fancy words for it over here. They do a thing called doxing, where they will put out your information. And when they had the hearings on the other day, there was one of the senators, the senator, she turns around to the witness, who was a legal immigrant, and she asked what her name was, and she said, my name is Jessie, whatever. And she said, can you spell it? And she was Jesy, because she was Indian. So she was kind of alluding to like, why do you have an American name? You could see it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that really racist of you? And she goes, what's your maiden name? Now, if I was the person running the hearing, I would have gotten up and said, get the fuck out.
Why does she need to know that?
That's intimidation.
Yeah.
You're asking someone their maiden name. Like, why don't you just ask me for my address on fucking TV? You know what I mean? Like, that's really happening.
Yeah.
So it's a world, we're like stuck in a do as I say, not as I do. And then we are in a bystander society, which is a big problem. And that's been happening where, somebody will get hurt. One of my friends died in the city a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. He got murdered in the city at 9:15 at night in front of a pizza place. I'm sure as shit there was no shortage of people right there.
Yeah.
That saw it, and I am sure as shit did nothing. Now, I'm the kind of person that would lose my life to try to help another person. Mm-hmm. And I would. I can't be a bystander. If I saw it, like, oh, this is the best. I was literally in tears the other day. I'm driving home, and I see this kid on a bike, and he's riding his bike, and I see a really nice black Yukon that I very quickly realized was following him. I mean, it's 2 seconds to see that guy was driving way too slow, slowing down, stopping, pulling over, like just erratic, bizarre behavior, following a child. So I turn my car around and I kind of just slowly come up just to see. And I see the kid still on his bike to make sure that he turned into a driveway. No, he's still on his bike, and that guy's still following him. So I pull up next to the guy and I angle my car in front of his so he couldn't move his car. He'd have to hit mine to leave. And he just looked at me and I said, do you know that kid? And he goes, that's my son. I said, are you sure that's your son? Are you lying to me? And he goes, what? And I said, I've been watching a lot of TV lately and there's a lot of kids getting abducted. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and just watch you follow some kid on his bike and be okay with it. I said, would you say the same thing to the cops if I called them right now? The guy just looks at me. He's like, what? I said, if I call the cops right now, are you able to prove that that's your son? And the kid turned around on his bike and he's like, Dad, what's going on? I started crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I've seen a lot of shit on the news and it really freaked me out. And I was in tears. And the guy was like, he's like, I cannot be mad at you.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's true.
he's like, thank you. He's like, that usually doesn't happen. And he said, do you know how many cars drove past me? I'm like, I watched them. I watched these cars drive past you.
Yeah. No, it's like saying you did the right thing at the same time, because you don't know, do you? Like,
Because to be safe than sorry. What if? And I said, well, that kid was about to get away. What if? Because I made sure you weren't going to, you would have had to hit my car. And, there's not enough people that think like you have to think on your feet. You could see something going on right in front of your face and just not even notice it.
It's like you say, the critical thinking aspect of it, and that like caring nature that jumps in, because there was I was saying this to my brother as well. I'm hoping that
I really do. I don't think normal people, and I hate to say normal people, but I don't think a normal person would do that. I think a fighter would do that. I think that a person that's trained, a person that critically thinks, and fighters.
I'm always doing that. Like, even when I'm walking down the road, like, I'm always very aware of everything that's going on. Like, not just myself, like my own safety, but like everything else as well. And I seen a video. It was I think it was South London. There was a girl that was walking along with like a young lad. I'd say he's probably about 20, and this little girl noticed that it looked strange. Like, she's told her mum, like, that man and that little girl's like walking off down an alleyway. So the woman, and I thought, this is amazing, because people don't do this shit anymore. The woman actually followed him. She followed him and she was recording him. And he had his arm around this little girl and he was like walking and going, it's my sister, shut up, it's my sister. And she was like, no, it's not. She went, I don't believe that that's your sister. So she followed him. It was disgusting. I got goosebumps. I felt sick watching it. And he went around a corner and I don't know what he was doing, but he kind of like I don't know what he was doing, but he was blocking people looking at her in front of him. And then she caught him, basically, and he was walking off, and the girl started bursting out crying, saying, I don't know who he is. I was on my way to school. Little girl, probably about 10, crying her eyes out, saying that she was on her way to school, and he took me away, and he was dragging her down into this alleyway. But it was like she was properly, tears, where it was like she's thankful that you saved her life, basically.
Yeah.
She was thanking this woman for coming and saving her. And it's disgusting. Like, it was broad daylight.
That happens.
It was like, school time. So it was probably 8:30 in the morning. She's walking to school to get there for 9 o'clock.
It happens all the time. And it happens everywhere. And that's the sick thing. I mean, there's literally, I can't tell you how many Amber Alerts on my phone in the last couple months.
What's that? What's an Amber
Alert? Like when the emergency alert will come across your phone that a kid's missing or whatever, they call it Amber Alerts. But, it's crazy. Even if you hear that they find a kid, you don't ever hear what happens after. You don't hear the parents going on the news. There's just so many questions that I have. But you know what? Yeah, that is very special circumstances that you hear of people doing the right thing. And it's usually a woman, because mothers usually know, or women usually have it, what do they call it?
Mother's intuition, isn't it? Like, they get that feeling. And it's true. I think it is a genuine feeling.
It's happened to me so many times recently. I was at a rally with two of my girlfriends. We were at one out east. And we're walking to our car. Now, when we first got there, I saw this one guy that just was really, he was weird. He looked like he was on drugs. I immediately saw him. I was like, oh, he's going to be a problem. So you could just tell he was fucked up. Like, he was on the floor. He was weird. So when we were leaving, I'm smoking a pen, we're leaving, we're walking to the car. I saw him. And I didn't think anything of it. And we get to my car, and all of a sudden we're like talking and bullshit and laughing. And this cops, like two of them, come walking up to us like quickly, and they're like, shh. And we're like, what? And he's like, you're being followed, right? I'm like, wait, what? I said, "I think he was coming over because I was smoking." And he's like, "No." He's like, "That guy was following you." I'm like, "The guy with the backpack." He's like, "Oh, you saw him?" I said, "Well, I saw him earlier and I saw him walk this way, but I figured maybe he was walking to his car." He said, "No, no, no. He was following you guys."
Wow.
Yeah.
And you already thought he was a creep anyway.
I knew he was safe. And both of my girlfriends had no idea. No idea. One's a dancer who almost got kidnapped once, and the other one, my friend Lori, couldn't fight her way out of a paper bag if she tried. And we went live immediately after. And my friend Katrina said, she's like, she's like, everybody should be taking some form of mixed martial arts or self defense. She goes, because the only person that was aware of everything going on was Kerry, and Kerry's the only one that's trained. And I'm like,
it's just being aware of your safety at all times. And it sounds like over the top going, you've got to be aware at all.
You know what? I remember my first class that I ever took in jujitsu, and the first thing that I was told by, and I can't remember the professor because again, it was like younger and I didn't really want to do the learning of it. I just wanted to submit people and fight. And I was also a drug addict at that point. But the first thing he said was, don't ever put yourself in a situation that you can't fight your way out of.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's exactly what obviously when I had my ladies class at the moment, obviously due to COVID we haven't. That's one of the main things that I was saying, is that the first point of self-defense is understanding that you're going to end up in a situation which you don't really know how to get out of. Like, you avoid them situations, because you have like some like rowdy girls like myself who go like, oh, I'd punch him. You think, well, no, because first of all, this could be a really big man. Like, you could be trained, but this could be a guy who you might hit and he might not hurt. You might even miss him.
Yeah.
Or he might hit you first. Like, the first thing to do is get your ass out of there. Like, if you think something's wrong, you need to go in. Did I ever tell you about the taxi situation that I had when I literally jumped out of a taxi?
You did, but tell it again, because there are people that haven't heard that story.
Yeah, so I get the same route every day with it, and I don't take taxis anymore simply because of this situation, but I get the same route every day. And I got in a taxi, and I had it was summertime. I think it must have been July, and I had shorts on because I was going to do kickboxing. I had my shorts, and I thought, I'm not putting pants on, it's boiling. So I got in the car, and then again, being very spatially aware, I seen the taxi driver. So I'm like, we drive on the car's actually on the right,
Yeah.
the steering wheel in the UK. So he's on the right, and I'm in the back to the left. So then I see him like look down, so he can see my legs, and I thought, fucking weirdo. But then I kept my eyes on him because I thought,
I love you so much.
I was like thinking, that's weird. Like, why did he do that? But then he kept looking down, and he kept doing it. And he's about 3 or 4 times, and I was like, like he could be a bit of a weirdo. But with that being said, like, I didn't have any makeup on. I physically look very young, so I thought this guy could be a creep because I look young. He's looking at my legs. So anyway, he go down same route, normal, and then he goes down this like derelict road. So then I'm sat there thinking, this isn't right. So my heart's pounding, and I felt sick. I was like, something's wrong here. So I said to him, excuse me, I said, you go straight down. You don't need to go this way. Like, it's a weird road. It kind of like bends round, and it's like trees hanging over it. It's dark in like the corner of it. It's kind of like a bit of a dead end, but it does turn off. And he just turned around and he was like, no, like, and he was nodding, like as if to say, shut up, like, this is the way we're going.
Listen to me.
No, this is the way. And I was like, no, it's not. And he was like, and he just kept turning around going, yes. And he just kept saying yes. So I went, no, fuck this. So I literally opened the door, and he was still driving, and I just jumped out. And it's about if you ran at a moderate pace, it's about a 3-minute run to the actual gym from there. So ran, literally everything was falling out my backpack. Like, my backpack was open because I was actually looking in it. I just ran straight to the gym, got in there. My heart was pounding. I was like, fuck, like, I thought, that's it. My body was like, get out of there.
Yeah.
Just, like,
yeah.
He was a small like guy. Like, if I really needed to fight to the death, like, obviously, like, I would have had to, but I didn't need to have that situation. So I just ran literally straight away, got there, phoned the police, because obviously, like, that needs to be said. But the worst part about it was nothing ever happened from that situation. They didn't phone me back. The police said that they were going to phone me back and, get some more information off me.
Problem.
They never rang me back. And I was like, do you know what? Say for example,
what if you step on somebody else up after you that wasn't aware?
Exactly. And like, I think you have these gut feelings like, if say you took the wrong way, I don't know, when you thought, oh, well, we'll just turn out there and we'll go there. Like, you can feel a vibe off someone if they're a nice person or if they're a genuine person. But the feeling that I was getting, I've never had that feeling before. It was like someone winded me, like, and I was like, fuck, this is weird. Like, I've got to bounce, like, quick.
You knew.
I knew
Well,
straight
they're
away.
telling you, and you already know because you've taken that way so many times, but they're saying no.
Yeah, like, it was the nod. It was like, just going, oh no, I'm gonna turn here and then I can actually turn off. Like, if he explained that, I'd have been like, oh, you know what, whatever.
But when the direction and the way he was like, no, this is what we're doing, and
Yeah,
you're
like,
going to go along
it was
with it.
short little things, like he was going, no, this is where we're going, and I was like, I just thought that's really weird with the way he's doing it. So I was like, yeah, fuck that. So then I went and obviously reported it and stuff. But it kind of, not that it was a really scary moment, because like your adrenaline kicks in, you fight and flight, like you don't know what's going to happen. But that's a perfect situation that I've told the people in my classes, that if you think something's wrong, you need to get out of there. Like the other bits, like the other self-defense bits, are like last resort type things.
Yeah.
You know, that's the really important thing. And it's sad because, you know, a girl can't just walk down the street these days, because you never know what's going to happen. You can't, you know, go out in shorts without somebody, you know, saying something to you in the street. And like I said, that poor young girl who went walking to school, and then all of a sudden the guy's, you know, dragging her away. It's like, I think that's what we need to be told, is more like when we was kids, you know, when people say, don't speak to strangers, don't fucking, like, you know, if somebody comes over to you, better run, like that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, if you had a feeling, people need to instill that in people more often now, and that got lost somewhere. The gut feeling, it got lost.
It's, you know, another situation happened to me when I was really young. I was in Wales, which is like not too far away from Manchester, like outside of England, Wales, and I got lost on a caravan site, so like a trailer park type thing where you go on holiday. And luckily, the guy who found me was a good person. But thinking back to like how these people, you know, how these children end up getting taken, it's very easy, and people don't know. Like, what happened was I made some friends, and then they went to their caravan, and I was like, oh, I'm going to find them. And I just walked off innocently. And then all of a sudden, all the caravans look the same. I'm just stood in the middle of nowhere, basically. And this guy,
where's my friends?
Literally. But do you know what the craziest thing is? Mother's intuition, again, this is what I'm going to tell you. So my mum, I'm pretty sure she's psychic. I don't know what it is, but she just knows things are going to happen. So when I was in the caravan, she wrote on the back of my hand the caravan number for some reason. And she was like messing about with a pen, like she was going, let me draw something on your hand, and it was the number of the caravan. So anyway, got lost, blah blah blah, and the guy said to me, like, where's your caravan? I was like, oh, I don't know. And I just like showed him the number, and then he took me to the security guy, and then they took me to my caravan. And my mum was like, I fucking knew I had to do that. She was like, that's crazy. So, you know, we like that story, because it's like she knew that something was going to happen before it happened, which is, you know, mother's intuition, like you say. It's just not a critical thing.
I watched a video the other day where the girl was talking about the importance of having like safe words with your friends and family. Like me and my sister, I'm like, Reese's Pieces, you know what I mean? Like, we always joke around, but there was a girl that said that there was twice in her life that she had to use that. And once she was a little girl, and she was at a friend's, I forget where she said she was, and she called her mom and it didn't feel right. And she said Reese's Pieces. The second time was when she was about 17 or 18, sleeping over her girlfriend's house. And she said that it was like, you know, like they were older, and the brother of the girl and the father were getting drunk and were starting to talk about like what they do to girls. And she said she called her mom, and she's like, you know, is it all right if we go get those Reese's Pieces? That her mom came and got her. And she's saying it wasn't really like, okay, well, that's what they said. She said, but there was two drunk guys that weren't my family. You know what I mean? She's like, that was that girl's father that they probably went, but they don't know me. So like maybe they were going to try to do something. And I mean, shit, that's what people need. That you need, like, parents should be teaching their kids, you know, God forbid something happens, call us and say this, like, who's going to question, can we go get Reese's Pieces? You know what I mean? Like,
that's it. And it's not, you know, it's not like you think everybody's like, you know, a bad person. It's just being like, it's your person, isn't it? You never know what somebody's capable of. You know, we've seen that every day is people who you think are, good people. They're not half the time. So,
Yeah.
that's a real good way of thinking. I think it's not weird to do that.
No, it's not. And like one of my sisters, one of my niece's friends, she is friends with this girl, not really anymore anyway, but they were friends. And the girl, I said to my sister, how come she never ever goes over her house? And she said, well, two things. She goes, their family's a little weird. She goes, and you know me, I don't like to judge, so I'd rather, maybe have her come over here. Maybe she'll get some normalcy. And I said, okay. And she goes, and there's a lot of rumors in the school about her older brother.
Mm.
And I said, smart. And she goes, I don't know if it's true. I just heard he can be a problem. He's a little different, and I don't want my, little girl over there with a boy that isn't going to look at him like her sister, like his sister. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's really sad. And it's really sad that like that's what you have to think about, like when you send your kid off to some sleepover, like is their drunk uncle going to be there? You know what I mean? Like,
but my mom's always been like that, because when I was younger, like I used to think that
my mom used to make us watch A Current Affair and all these stupid fucking shows. Like, what was stupid fucking dumb shows? And she's like, well, you're still alive, right?
That's exactly what she says to me. She goes, well, you turned out all right. And it's like, you know what? It's true. Like it taught me to actually think in a different way. And like she always used to say, like, oh, you're not staying out till all hours with your friends, and they'll end up doing this, this, and this. And it's true. Like, I don't know where most of my friends are when I was growing up, but I know that I'm in a good situation. I've not, done anything bad in my life. I'm on a career, path on my career. So it kind of worked, that type of parenting, which
and
is,
you'll see it even through your adult life. I'm watching this still, like those scenarios still play out. I'm 40 and I'm seeing that like my friend going into the city the other week. I love him dearly. It really was a big blow that he got murdered. However, I said I said, well, I know him. He went out fighting like a mother. He would never have gone out and just been like, I'm just going to take this. Now he went out fighting. So I'm sure it was pretty bad. But it's not ever going to happen to me mentality. That can't happen to me. That ain't going to happen to me. Because he said to my friend, when she's like, I don't think you should be going into the city, dude. Like, are you sure? And he's like, I feel safer on those streets than I do out here.
Yeah, but it's like you say, it can happen to anyone, can't it? I think, that type of mentality where you feel invincible.
All of the people over the weekend in the city, my friend, you know what I mean? Like, there's people in the city.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I remember going to what was it was PFL's championships, New Year's Eve. And I remember going with Lindsay Van Zant and a couple of the other press people came home with us, and we all took our car. And all of a sudden we're driving and we see, like, I don't remember seeing anything. I just remember hearing a car door open. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I looked and I thought like something must have happened. And one of the guys got out of the car. Maybe something happened we didn't see. It was just a really weird situation. And all of a sudden I looked to the left of me. There's a guy standing with Lindsay's car door open. She's driving. And he's practically like in her car, screaming at us. And I'm like, he looked and I finally like registered. He's like screaming at us about money or something. And I'm like, I get in his face like this close and I'm like, no, get out. No. And Lindsay, she's like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, literally, like, well, all I could do was just scream, no, get out in this guy's face. Clearly, he got out. And I turned around to the two guys in the back seat and I'm like, and where the fuck were you guys?
Yeah, what the fuck? Oh my God.
Where the fuck were you two? And I turned around and I said, thank God there was four of us, because he would have gotten in the back seat.
Yeah, that's true.
But it also shows what pussies guys can be. And these are two of my friends that are journalists that could watch this. Love you too, but you're both pussies. Like, really? I was like, well, I saw him coming, but I didn't think of it. I'm like, so you just let it happen?
Yeah, that is a bit weird, isn't it? I seen a guy come up to the car, but I thought I'd let him open the door anyway.
Let's see what happens. Let's rock this. Let's see how this ends. Like,
that is crazy.
because apparently the year before, something also happened when we were walking to our car that I didn't remember. And my friend Eddie was like, "Don't you remember when the guy like tried to accost us over a cigarette?" I'm like, "No."
It's a good job you can stand up for yourself anyway.
And I said that like, thank God I was an athlete as a kid, and thank God I, took up kickboxing in my 20s and, did all sorts of different styles of mixed martial arts. But again, I was a drug addict, so I didn't like to practice. I like to just do.
Just do it. Yeah.
I was like, this, I don't need to learn. I just need to just teach me the move and I'm in. I don't want to do the whole practice part about it. That's why I didn't do great in sports in high school, but I was always an athlete. So, and thankfully I do know how to defend myself, and I'm always very well aware of what's going on around me and my
Yeah.
immediate surroundings, which is, I guess, comes from a lot of watching those like my mom made us watch A Current Affair, Unsolved Mysteries. I was a big fan of like CSI and all those shows, and I guess you learn your enemy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, like you say, with when you learn, mixed martial arts as well, like obviously you get really good at like understanding your own body and self-defense, and that I think that just switches your mind on as well. Like everything's sharp about you, like you obviously your body's sharp, but also your mind's sharp as well, isn't it? So,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think it just translates really well into that, as
Right.
well as the pain as well.
Now, let's get back into fighting. Now that we segued a little bit into it, I'm very excited to see you have your first robot. Have you had any talks? Do you have any promotions that you're talking to right now?
No, not at the moment because it's a really weird situation. Obviously, I think at the moment some promotions like in the UK are probably only really having their contracted fighters fighting. It seems like that anyway. Like they're not really signing that many new people.
Mm.
But yeah, like I'm hoping, I've said it before, like to get onto Cage Warriors, obviously, who like you're aware of. That's one of the avenues that I want to go down. But that's not ruling out any other promotions. Like Invicta's a really good one, especially for girls. I don't know if you've heard of Brave
Yep.
Fighting Championship. Like that's pretty good. They do really good events as well. Like one, there's all different places, isn't there, that you can start off in. But I am like really looking forward to it. It's been way too long. Like
Yeah,
in my amateur career, I fought like every 2 months,
I know.
and it's just now I've not had a fight in like since February, so it's been a long time.
Realize that that's the big change from amateur to pro is that sometimes you have a lack of fights more than amateur. You could see somebody will have 20 amateur fights, and it's like, how the fuck did that happen? Well, there's people want to fight. You want to get them. You want that experience. As a pro,
Yeah, you have to be a bit more careful, don't you, at pro, because although they say like records don't matter, they do, especially in the beginning. When you're building up, your profile, your image, and everything that you want to do, you want to start racking up them wins, and you've got to be smart with your recovery and the period of time in between and things like that. But yeah, with that being said, like I want to fight quite often. Obviously injury depending, if I end up injured in a fight after winning, I'm not going to jump straight in when I'm not 100%. But yeah, I can't wait. And the shift has been great. Like the shift of from amateur to pro. Like I never thought I would feel it. Like some
yeah.
people go straight into pro, but I feel like there's been a massive shift in like my performance in the not like performance in the gym, but my actual performances in practice, like what I'm remembering, what I'm putting together, and my fight IQ as well just seems to be rapidly growing, which is really exciting.
And it's funny because like I can now now that like I'm training more and training because when I trained back before I got injured, it was mostly kickboxing. So
Yeah,
I wasn't really doing jujitsu. I had done jujitsu in my 20s. Now that I'm doing mixed martial arts and my coaches were training kickboxing, Thai, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a little wrestling, for base and stuff. And it's funny because like now I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So we'll be sitting there and say I'm on my back, and I'm like, okay, or I could do an up kick if we're in an MMA fight. He's like, exactly. He's like, so there's a lot you can do, but you have to know where you are.
yeah,
Are
that's it.
you in a jujitsu match or are you in an MMA fight? And he's like, and right now we're practicing jujitsu. You're not up kicking me. Like, okay.
The way that we train in SBG, and I don't, it's probably a load of other places as well, is we, even if we're doing jiu-jitsu, we always emphasize the fact that you can be hit from this position. So like if somebody's in mount on me, like I wouldn't be like, oh, like swinging my arms all over and stuff. I need to be. We make people aware. Like although you're probably a jiu-jitsu player and you never do MMA, but be aware that someone can hit you from this position. Jiu-jitsu is a massive form of self-defense. So
big time.
it's bringing that into it as well. And that's, again, like you say, if that shit happens.
Or I could do this if we're in a fight, and I do. I constantly wait, but if we're in a fight, I could do this. So we do. I'm always like, but because there is, I do, I'm 41, but there is a part of me that's like, maybe one day I could take a bite. You never know. So I do have that. Okay, well, even though right now we're just training jujitsu, there is that application that one day I'm going to want to. And also we do now, we're saying that's eventually, he's like, I need you to get rolling with girls because I'm 112. So hard. Me gaining weight is the hardest thing in the world. And you would think at 40, that would be like 41, that would be the opposite. And it's been increasingly because of my shoulder injuries and everything I've gone through in the last 6 years. It's increasingly harder for me to gain weight.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that I was, as he called, skinny fat. I didn't know there was such a thing. But losing 8% body fat the last time that we actually calculated it, holy shit, I was. I look back at my pictures. I'm like, wow. I was skinny fat. Wow, I didn't even know that there was such a thing, And now, like, I look at, my numbers haven't changed on the scale, but there's a massive difference. Like, I don't have anything hanging off anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh shit! Like, there's a big, big difference, and I love it. I'd rather look strong than look like I did.
Definitely, and that's another like stigma, isn't it? With girls, is that they don't want to look strong, or they don't want to look like they put like muscle on. But I think that's it's a great look on a lot of females, and it's good to just get that strength as well. Like it's better to be strong than not to to not be strong, type of thing. So
it's a better look to have muscles than to just be.
Yeah, like just your skeleton and the fat around it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's I was an athlete when I was younger, so I didn't even realize that I had fallen off that much. But you don't realize that even I thought, because I was just an athlete, that I was always going to be in great shape, and I was in good shape, but like I lost all the muscle and definition. But it was easy, not easy. It was a lot of work to gain it back. But I have, and John says all the time, he's like, I have to take into consideration that you were an athlete, and there's a reason why you do gain muscle he's like, you get swollen like I've never seen. He's like, dude, you lift and you're like, and I'm like, but always I played soccer, I did gymnastics, I did dancing, a little bit of hockey. So I've done sports that are impactive, very competitive, very hard on a person.
Yeah, that's exactly like me. That's what I did my entire life, and I put that on Instagram the other day. Is that it's a hard situation. Like right now, it's a hard situation for everybody because obviously everybody's lives are impacted. But when you've come from a competitive background where every weekend you're doing a competition, or you're training, you've got practice, to doing nothing, it's like that's crazy. Especially if you've been a lifelong athlete, you need to keep your body going. You need to keep your mind going. Otherwise, people just go crazy, don't they? And going back onto the physical changes, have you seen Rose Namajunas at the moment? Have you seen what she looks like?
No.
She's put on a lot of muscle mass. Like Rose has always been very tiny, hasn't she? She's
I was going to say that I felt like I had a similar frame to her.
Yeah.
Probably taller than me, but the skinny, lanky.
Yeah, she's like long and quite slim. Yeah, Pat Barry put out a picture of her, and her arms shoulders are looking bigger, arms she's looking thicker, and it just looks great because it's just nice to see as well, and the building the upper body strength and even lower body strength as well. But it looks really good. I think a lot of the fighters now, the female fighters, are definitely hitting the weights.
Oh yeah, no, big time. If you look at it, I'm starting to see people train in different things. My friend Jennifer Duwin has been doing gymnastics.
Yeah.
I've been watching her tumbling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss gymnastics so much. That's why I was like, let me see if I could even do a handstand. And I don't know if you saw the picture. I did a handstand for the first time since my shoulder injuries, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to, because I'm used to, as a gymnast, is walking onto my hands. So just literally putting my hands down and being able to just step up into the air. And I'm like, I'm afraid to do that because my arms can do that. So John was like, well, just put your hands down and walk up the wall. Try it differently.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that because I'm just so used to, as a gymnast, just stepping onto my hand. So I'm going to try it. I was like, holy shit. I can do it. I'm so excited. I never thought I'd be able to do it again.
Well, you have now. You know.
And it's my own personal competition. So now I'm making everything like I'm my biggest competition at the moment.
Yeah.
All little victories. I said to John the other day, when are you going to give me a fucking belt? I just want, I know we don't do gi. I know that. I get that. I said, but just the principle of like, I need to know if am I even getting better? You know what I mean?
It's like those visual, it's like them visual things, isn't it? Like some people need to physically see the progression, like belt systems and things like that, which is fine. You know,
merit-based system.
Yeah, like everybody.
I'm a two-stripe white belt.
Yeah.
Yes. I know.
There's your progress, isn't it? Like you can see that, you can physically see the hard work that you're putting in, and people see it different ways, don't they? And that's one of them. But what you said is really interesting. So go on.
Now I could watch fights and I see things from a totally different perspective. Where when I'm watching them grapple, and I'm like, but John taught me what is it, to go from I can't think of what it's called. That's my stoner in me. Like he's gonna be yelling at me if he's watching this. He can't think of what it's called. Kerry, what's wrong with you? But anyway, when I go to hook, it's say my leg is hooked, right? And I could get it out with my other one. John taught me a way if you put your foot in between both the legs to pry your other one out, and it's just to get a different side mount. I forget what it's called. But now I go for that all the time if I can. If I could get my foot out and get into side mount, that's like my first thing is just use my other one. And I got that in, I forget who he had me training with. And it was so funny because they were all like, Kerry, and they were all so proud. I was like, oh my God, I did the thing. I was like, I actually did it. It worked. Like, I was so proud of myself.
That's good though. It's the small victories, isn't it? It's your progression. So, and that's kind of how I'm measuring my progress at the moment, because similar like thought processes of you is that you want to, instead of like saying about jumping straight into the handstand, you forgot that there's an easier way of doing it. I'm the same. Like, I want to be good at something straight away. And that's the thing that I've been working on, is stop thinking like that, because that's like a great way of setting you up for a fail, really. Because I only train with men, and they're all bigger than me. Like I think the smallest is probably just a little bit heavier than me, and then obviously it goes up from there. And sparring with them guys who are, one of them, Abdul, he's been pro for a while, and I used to get hit a lot and get taken down a lot. I think, fuck, like I should be a lot better. But then I took that away. I was like, right, that's not what I'm focusing on anymore. I'm not focusing on what he's doing to me. Yeah, like focus on myself. And I was like, right, today I'm going to make sure that I get at least one takedown against him, or one takedown against the guy who I've never been able to take down before.
Or and then when they don't take me down.
Yeah, or I don't get taken down, and then my whole class would be, if we're sparring, I'd be like, right, I'm not getting taken down today, and that'll be what I do. And I'll go home and be like, shit, that actually happened. And then that's how I've been getting so much better at everything that I've been doing, is just working on those little weaknesses. And then all the little things just kind of mold together. And that's when I said where the shifts come from. Like when I first like realized I was turning pro, I was thinking, shit, like, pro is a big thing. Like, I'm ready for that. And, it's going to be really tough. But now I'm like, I am totally ready, for a pro fight. Like, I can't wait to utilize the tools that I've got now. So yeah, hopefully next year.
It's a new tool set, and that's another thing, is that you get more of a complete toolbox than you do with amateurs. It's not as much that you can use. You can't utilize, elbows or certain things, and so ground and pound. It depends what sanctioning body you have too, because the rules are different with different sanctioning bodies. But it's nice to be able to do that. And also, I said, I was saying the other day, is in New York, there's not going to be a lot of amateur MMA left. So I feel like coaches are going to have to really test their athletes. And, if you want to become a professional fighter, like it might have to be tested in the gym. But you know what I mean? Like I don't know how to No, yeah, you're just going to have to test your athlete out and make sure that they can go against the best. Because if there's no amateur organizations and amateur shows, you're going to have to go pro somehow.
Yeah. And that's it. And I think at the moment, like a lot of people have turned pro because of the situation that's happening, because not a lot of amateur fights happening. But yeah, I think I've done it at the right time. Like, you know, I've had 10 fights.
It's perfect for you.
Oh, what? Sorry, that broke up then.
Perfect timing for you.
Yeah, I think so anyway. And, you know, there's only one way to find out. And I think, you know, my confidence is high, and, you know, I can only get better, can't you, with the amount of training you're doing. You're never going to go backwards if you keep training and keep having a positive mindset. So that'll be, I can't wait, actually. I'm getting so bored now. Like, seeing different fights, and I'm watching all these different fights, like all these different promotions that are on at the moment. I'm just like sat there like angry, thinking, God, I wish I was on there. Sorry, what was that?
We just got to get you in there.
Yeah, that's it. Just gotta throw me in there. But yeah, I'm hoping maybe February, March next year. That'll be good. Obviously, after Christmas, have like January to kind of keep ticking over, and then
absolutely, I think that would be a good time too. Things should be a little bit more settled by then. That's been my rule of thumb for the last like month or so. I've said like I feel like March is going to be a big things are going to kind of even out around February and March by then.
Hoping so, yeah.
I do. I feel like you're going to see a little. It's either going to go one or two ways. We're going to see a lot of turmoil in the next like couple months, which will be good in a weird way, or it'll kind of continue like here where it's been just like kind of calm and complacent, and like that'll scare me more than if you start seeing riots. That will excite me. If we start seeing upheavals, it'll be good.
Yeah, definitely.
It's true. I mean, it's other than that, it's like the opposite scares me. So I'm kind of excited, you know, to see what the next chapter, the closing chapter is going to bring.
Yeah, it's kind of like just bring it on, isn't it? At this point, you know, it's gone on for this long. It's like just throw it at us. You know, we've got to deal with it. We've got to get through it somehow. There's got to be an end. There's got to be,
I'm excited.
So we'll be
Levi, it has been amazing. I haven't had to have, first off, I haven't gotten to have like a 2-hour good conversation with somebody in a while. So I thank you so much for this.
No problem.
Very much. And we cannot wait to see you get into your first pro fight. I'm stoked for that. And when you are, you know, have that and you guys have one booked, or at least are in the way of talking about that, we'll definitely do another interview. I want to do a podcast with you where it won't be, we could do it more anonymous, if that makes any sense. Like just your voice. We don't have to record it. And then we could talk about all that, like get really into the conspiracy.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds good to me.
We'll do that whenever you can, next week, whenever you have time, because that I do them all the time and they're a lot of fun. And the more that I'm doing, it's just getting like more fun and more fun. And I've had a couple fighters on, and it's really gets, you know, because we could talk about whatever then. And then it's like, okay, well, we don't have to worry about getting you a fight, because this is more to promote you as an athlete. That's more to like, let's just be able to talk and get this shit out, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hit you up on Instagram about that. And actually, while we're there, tell everybody where they can follow you. I know you're not on Facebook anymore. Just like people are going to start seeing, people are going to go to different platforms. We got to get you on Parler.
Yeah, definitely. So I've only got Instagram at the moment. So it's just at Steed MMA and then _ at the end.
Okay. And we're going to get you on Parler. I think that you would do really well on there. There's not a lot of female mixed martial artists on there yet. So you'd be on like a ground floor, like in the girls' corner is doing great on there for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Saturday to speak with us and me and catch up. And again, I'm so excited for you, Levi. Let's get this next podcast going. I'll message you later on. I'm going to share this all over the place. And have a fantastic Saturday. Oh, who do you want to, any sponsors, anybody you want to thank?
I'm always, yeah, I've got, so George Holland at Total Sports Rehab. He's my physio. So he's always, you know, keeping me in good shape. You know, CBD Life, CH Productions, XS Guard, all of those guys who have sort of Hard Life Fightwear as well, and yeah, obviously SBG. So that's all of those guys. So thank you to them, and thank you for having me on as well. It's been really fun.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. And I'm looking forward to talking about some Beyond stuff with you. That'll be even better. But no, thank you for coming on. And I really, I'm so excited, and to have seen you go from an amateur to a pro and see your career grow as it has been an honor and exciting. And I can't wait to see where you go from here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it has been a long time, hasn't it? You know, amateur to pro days. So yeah, it'd be good to document the next chapter.
I've been watching you for a couple of years, so it's really exciting to have seen that and watch like that whole post. I was like, so excited for her. Oh man. So have a wonderful Saturday and have a great weekend. And we will meet in the Beyond, in the Cuniverse, as I call it. And I will talk to you soon, love. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. See ya.
Bye.